with all due respect.
All right. Recording machines, Josh and Gray. We've been going to
I
town
know.
lately. Yeah.
We love to talk.
Yeah. So this is a part two. This is with all due respect to 18. Part two, creating a healthy weight loss culture. We decided to do two spots on this. I feel like we've struggled a little bit to define what culture is, what we want to talk about. We want, is it what we're seeing in society? Because there's so much noise out there, right, in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does it mean to be healthy? What are the boundaries of health? How important should it be in our lives?
hmm
Um, how do we maintain balance? How do we not obsess about it?
hmm
Um, where does it fit? What is society telling us? Where does it fit within really who we are as people? Where does it fit in our lives? And we decided we're going to talk a lot about the experiences that we see because we can really only talk about our own experience
Right.
or our experiences that we see in our clients uh, and the feedback that they give us, right?
hmm
Um, and I will say that in the past many years of doing this, um, I have come to the conclusion that it is a much larger emotional struggle for people than I realized. And that's because I didn't have, like, we all have our own weight loss story or our own
hmm
wellness story. We all had that aha moment where we were like, you know, you talked about college, where you got in college, you're like, okay, well, I want to do something. I need to change
Yeah.
myself. It's always been a part of my life, even unhealthy part of my life. It's been a healthy part of my life. It's been an unhealthy part of my life. Um, where I learned to create balance. And I find that food and exercise is a real emotional struggle for people more than I thought.
hmm
And it's deeper than what I thought. Um, I over I overestimated the effect it had on people because I've always been a person who, when I'm going to do it, I do it. I don't tie emotion to it. When I need to cut calories, I cut calories. When I want to add calories, I add calories. Never had a hard time exercising.
Yeah.
Never. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I've gone through stretches where I'm like, I don't want to
Man.
work out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to work out. But I know that going down an unhealthy path starts with missing that one workout.
hmm
Um, how many of your clients will have a Friday and life got busy? They missed their workout. They skipped meals. They got fast food on the run and it's a Friday and all of a sudden Saturday they do the same thing because like what's the worry? It's already I already screwed it up.
Right.
I'm already
Right.
failure. I already
Yeah.
messed it up. Why start? I can't keep consistent with it anyway. It's too hard. I didn't lose weight the first week. I have a client that really struggled with their schedule the last 6 months. And um we finally locked it down to tracking consistent exercise. And like the first 10 days, her weight fluctuated up and down and never really lost a lot.
hmm
And she's like, "Oh, I got hormone problems. I know it." I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
it's been 10 days of the last
It's
six
been 10
months,
days.
right?" And then all of a sudden it dropped. And like 3 days later, she's on cloud nine. I'm in the right direction. I'm like, "Oh, so you don't have hormone problems and, something's not wrong with you." I mean, you know, and, and we just want it to happen so quickly and so easily, right?
100%. Yeah.
Right.
And I like to echo that. Like, I don't feel like I ever struggled with being consistent as far as like exercise. Like, when I started exercising again, it was like a drug. I was hooked.
Mhm.
I would never like get down on myself if there was a day I couldn't make it, but I was getting in the gym like at least 3 days a week when I first started.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I can't really relate to anybody that is struggling with like inconsistency as far as their workouts. Now, talking nutrition, when I first started. Absolutely inconsistent. I was still in college. So like
Mm,
I was, slamming margaritas and arroz con pollo ACP at Monterey's every other day.
mm,
So that was my
mm.
inconsistency.
Yeah, sure. I think that's probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
I think, that working out is 3 hours of your week,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Nutrition is just a daily battle.
Hmm.
And
It is. It's like a daily control that people really have a hard time with.
mhm.
Um,
And it takes a lot of patience,
a lot of patience and a lot
you
of
know.
learning, like you're relearning what foods mean to you,
Hmm.
and you're relearning like the quality of foods, like the goodness of foods essentially, which is really tough for a lot of people. When you were saying like you underestimated how emotional this could be for people, I absolutely, when I first started personal training people, I underestimated how difficult it was.
The food
Like
side or the workout side?
everything, the complication of it,
Hmm.
how complicated a lot of people's journeys are. I definitely underestimated the complication.
I think people, one, one, they're not very patient.
Hmm.
They don't understand what real consistency is,
Right.
right? And they want to have one workout and eat well one day and see the scale move.
That's it. Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah. And I put a post up a long time ago. I said, you start eating correctly and you can't tell for a month. You
Hmm.
start working out and you can't tell if you added muscle for 6 months.
Hmm.
You try to, eat more vegetables and you can't really feel better for a month. And I said, and that's why people quit.
Yeah.
People quit because they can't see past that next day. There's a quote, I think it was in a TV show, and it's kind of been something that I've, the older you get, the more you start thinking about legacy, like the value and the meaning of everything you're doing, right?
Hmm.
Because you don't want it to be gone when you die. You don't want it to be gone when you stop doing something. You want to have something that continues. Um, and it's if I get it right, it's societies flourish when wise men plant trees, the shade they know they'll never sit in.
Hmm. I haven't heard that
And
before, but
yeah, and that's the gist of and I'll say it again. Society flourishes when wise men plant trees, the shade they never sit in.
mhm.
And that says something to having the patience of the things you do on a Monday, especially if you're a parent. The habits you show every day, daily in your life, you might not be the beneficiary of it immediately,
Mhm.
but you have kids and family members who are going to
They're watching.
benefit and they're going to watch from it.
Right.
And I just think that once you become a parent, I think you have a responsibility to do that. That's part of what you're supposed to do.
I
And
agree
I and
tenfold.
and I do
Mhm.
know that there are a lot of people who have jumped hard on their own fitness journey when they started seeing their children have the same habits they had as children, and they didn't want that for their kids, right?
Mhm.
50% of kids are overweight. I mean, 13-year-olds are pre-diabetic. Girls are getting their periods at 10 years old, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we're a sedentary community now. We don't get out and move and work and exercise and work a farm or, do manual labor and things like that anymore. And our society has totally gone downhill
Mhm.
health wise, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
statistics in the United States around health is absolutely horrifying,
It's
right?
mind-blowing.
It's very scary. And we are an unhealthy population that eats poisonous food, that takes multiple amount of medications. And I just don't think we're meant to live that way at all.
No. And I like where I struggle with, coaching this or like in my own thought process is like how much of this is learned? How are we able to teach this many people how to retract these habits? Like, how to afford a healthier lifestyle, essentially. Like, there's so much thought that goes into it. Like, our coaching, was started like, let's eat healthier, right? Let's learn how to eat healthier. Let's learn how to lose weight healthier. And
Yeah,
I
change
think
one thing.
our coaching has evolved now into like eating the most healthy food that you can find, like having we had the egg conversation on in our Facebook group the other day, like what the best type of egg is for the most
Mhm.
micronutrients.
How
Like
many
our
how many eggs do
coaching,
you eat? Yeah.
yeah, and our coaching has just evolved so much into like, no, these are actual lifestyle changes that you have to make of getting rid of poisonous foods for the most part, of sleeping a lot better than you have been, of managing your stress. Like it's no longer just like, let's drop 10 pounds by going into a calorie deficit. It is so much more well-rounded than that. And I think the
Mhm.
more that we are exposed to it, sometimes the harder it becomes because it is so complicated.
Yeah. Mike's always put up the quote, if you think eating healthy and exercise is expensive, wait until you get the bill for disease.
No, exactly. But a lot of
Right.
people don't think in long term. They're like, I'm invincible. That's never going to happen to me. That's the frustrating thing I think we see too is like trying to teach somebody healthy habits and trying to encourage them to live in a healthy way. And it doesn't mean that 95 to 100% of everything that you do needs to be like clean, right? It
Mhm.
just means that majority of it needs to be clean. We normally say like 80 to 90% is great. But that's the hard thing is people will turn around and be like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I don't care.
my coaching changed when I started to deliver the message that I can't motivate you.
Mm, mhm.
I can't motivate you. If you're in, I had somebody reach out and did a conference call with me one time. We had a new client and they wanted to do a call. And they're like, well, what are you going to do to motivate me to do exercise and eat better? And I was like, I'm not going to motivate
That's
you
not
at all.
me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then and I was really much done with the call at the same time. Like as soon as she said that, I'm like, she's not ready. Right.
Yeah.
What are you going to motivate? I'm not going to do anything to motivate you. If you don't want to do this, then you're not going to do it.
There's nothing I can say to you.
I'll give you steps along the way. I
Right.
said, but if you want me to motivate you, if you don't have the own intrinsic motivation, and it does come down to me, it does come down to self-worth.
Yeah.
I had a, I,
100%.
I had a client tell me straight up when he was really struggling with making good decisions. His exact quote was, I know that a lot of people love me, but I'm not sure I quite love myself yet.
That's so tough.
Yeah.
That's so tough.
And because he doesn't treat himself, Jordan Peterson says, treat yourself like somebody you're responsible for taking care of.
Mhm.
And I tell that to people sometimes. Treat yourself like somebody you're responsible to take care of.
Yeah.
If you were sitting back and this was your brother who was doing this, and they were 300, but they were 100 pounds overweight and they
Mhm.
were in a disease state, what would you say to them? This was somebody you loved, and it was your brother or your sister, and they were
Yeah.
doing exactly what you're doing. What would you say to them? It's like, well, I wouldn't want them to do it. I said, then you're going to have to come back to me when you have that desire to do it for yourself,
Right. We
right?
touched on this with Erica's podcast too, just like that aha moment. Like it really is just the flip of a switch. But in my opinion, you can't ever fully stop working on yourself. I think if you're somebody that's like getting started on your journey and you're finding it really hard to be consistent, I need you to find something small that you can do a few times a month, a few times a week, whatever that looks like for you. Like, don't ever fully stop because there will be that one day where something flips and you're like, this is the rest of my life. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
do this forever,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
No, and I do think the reemergence of some of the content that's been out there on social media from, the um Callie and Casey Means,
I'm
right?
so do you know how
Yeah.
many people have texted me about that
Yeah.
in the
I've had a
last two
lot.
weeks?
Yeah. I've
I'm
had
so thankful.
I shared the Zach Bush today. I don't know if I sent it to you. Have you ever seen it's a YouTube channel called After School?
Mm-mm. I really
And
don't get on YouTube that much.
what they do, see, I like YouTube. That's my favorite form is
I
YouTube.
know you love YouTube.
Yeah, I do. I love YouTube Shorts. Ever since YouTube Shorts came out, most of it's because jujitsu. I watch tons of jujitsu
Yeah.
videos, and
Yeah.
I screencast it on my TV, and I make my kid watch the videos with me. Um,
Like your TikTok, it's geriatric TikTok.
yes, geriatric TikTok, YouTube Shorts, right? And there, if you have it, there's a channel called After School. It's SKOOL, and what they do is they take interviews and explanations of very, very deep subjects, and they animate it on this guy's like whiteboard. So as he's explaining to it, he's drawing you pictures of it and he's explaining it. So he's breaking down very complex subjects of sociology, science, psychology, philosophy, all kinds of things. And he's breaking them down so normal people can understand it in animation,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And Zach Bush, if you don't know who Zach Bush is, he's a triple certified, board certified doctor, triple board certified doctor who used to work in the business of developing chemo drugs.
Mm,
And he completely got out of it, I believe, completely got out of it.
mhm, mhm.
And he dedicated his life to how we eat and the changes in food farming and what we take in. And I shared that. I teach a wellness class, and I shared that with the kids. And one of the parents said that her kid came home and said, "Mom, we're done eating potato chips in the house. Right? We're done
Yeah.
eating it after that. We're done eating it." And so content like that, Kelly and Casey Means, even RFK, right? Like RFK's out there
Oh my God.
killing the
Huge.
industry, right? Like,
It's huge.
right?
And
He's
so many
he's
people are
killing about the
learning.
food, right? Well, you
Yeah.
know what they're really learning? You know what people are really learning? That the system, I hate saying words like the system, like systemic, like
It is
it's
the system. I know.
there's this global monster sitting on top of you,
But it is. It's like what
right?
it is. Big
Yeah.
brother.
And this big, yeah, right. Like this big brother, like when people are like, oh, they don't like us doing this. Well, who's they? Like, I wonder who they are, right? Like, that's my brain's like, who's they?
Doesn't it make you feel a little like Hunger Games-esque? Like,
I don't know. Never watched it.
you never watched Hunger Games? I can't even be shocked at you because I just watched all of them for
Okay,
the
good.
first time.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be judged for
But
not
it's
watching Hunger
it's
Games.
it's essentially like 9 districts against the capital, which is like the capital
Mhm.
is the higher up and the 9 districts are the lower,
Mhm.
districts of the world. But that's what it feels like to me. It's like very, you have like the top people, which could be viewed as like Hollywood or the
Elitists.
government. Yep.
Yeah,
Anything
large
like
corporation.
that.
Now it's large corporations,
Yeah, just depending on
right?
what you're looking at. And then you
Mhm.
have the lower, us plebes down here, just us normal folk.
Yeah,
I was
middle
hoping you
class.
wanted to talk about this today, though, because I was like, I want to get a little controversial on this one.
Is it really controversial? And I think more people are talking about it. Like, I really don't think, and listen, don't take this as an excuse to be unhealthy. You still have personal responsibility for the choices you make, right?
Absolutely.
Don't sit here and say the reason you smashed a bag of Oreo cookies was because the system's against you and there's food farming and chemicals and why not, you still made the stupid choice to eat all that food, right? You still go to the grocery store and buy it and shove it in your fat face. But
To put it lightly.
yeah, but um we are set up at a disadvantage from a very early age to be healthy.
Yeah.
Like it is stacked against us, right?
Mhm.
Um, you know, fast food restaurants are easy and convenient. They change the menu consistently so your palate keeps getting something different all the time, right?
Yeah.
Um, 70% of our diet is fake food.
Or
80% of the diet
more.
is
Yeah.
fake
I think the
food,
most recent ones are 80%.
right? I mean, I can
And I hate to
smash.
say this, but one of the best things that could have happened within the last couple of years is that fast food has gotten more expensive. So people are turning away from it.
And they put healthy things on there. Like you can go to
They
fast.
do.
You can go.
They do, but they're the most expensive things on the menu. So people have gotten this like skewed idea that fast food was always less expensive. Now it's not.
No, I don't
And
buy that.
especially if you want to eat healthy.
Yeah, that doesn't do it for me anymore. That excuse doesn't do it for me
No,
anymore.
I know, but that's what people have always said,
God,
like, oh, fast food is cheaper. And I understand that from a certain population of people.
yeah,
But now that fast food is so expensive, I do think it is turning more people to want to cook at home.
yeah. I don't engage much on social media anymore. Even when I post something and someone's like, man, underneath it, I'm just like, I don't care. Right. Um, or if I see something or someone, I'm just like, right. Like ad hominem, right? Like the argument around ad hominem and we're trying to argue a conversation through name calling. Sometimes I'm just like, man, sometimes calling somebody being an idiot, it's just it's just the truth, right? You're
Well,
just
it
an
was
idiot,
warranted.
right? It's yeah, like,
You earned it.
like I feel that way a little bit about self-esteem too. Like sometimes when, esteemable people do esteemable things. And
Mhm.
if you do really, really stupid and make really, really bad decisions, do really good things, and you feel sad for yourself and have a low self-esteem, well, sometimes
You
that's good
probably
judgment.
deserved it.
But sometimes
Yeah.
that's good judgment, right? Because you've made dumb choices, right? And I've made listen, I love my dog so much. Sometimes there's stupid choices are made, right? And I don't engage much on social media, but the things you hear and see people say around, like when people get on social media or someone gets on Facebook and they ask for advice, I'm like, do you realize who you're like? Someone will be like, they'll be like, hey, does anybody know a really good diet?
I know. I
Trying to
see it
lose
all
10
the
pounds.
time.
And I'm like, you just went to a regular dumb society of people and asked them about how to be healthy
And
when
I
70% of these people are extremely unhealthy. And you read through the comments, man, and it's like, man, this is the world we live in. This is
keto,
the
like that's what
world we
I
live
see
in. We live in just this crazy, crazy world when people get advice and they ask and you see the things that are
on
underneath it.
Facebook. I know.
And you're
It
just like,
takes me so much. It takes
I
me
just don't,
so
I don't
much
do
to
it.
not. I know, and I don't
I
either,
don't
but it
do it.
takes me so much because I like empathize with people. Like I feel bad for people that don't know,
Mm,
and it takes everything in me not to respond to somebody that's like intermittent fasting. I'm like, well, actually, most of us need breakfast.
mm. I
So,
have found that one of the greatest questions to find out that predominantly majority of people have no clue what they're talking about when they make statements. Most people are indoctrinated and they regurgitate information they see on social media or their news.
oh,
That's it. They
absolutely.
just regurgitate what they see and what they believe. They have bias. There's confirmation bias. They have they don't. And I started asking this question to people. And I did it at work a couple days ago when somebody came in and said something, and I'm just like appalled. I was just like, did they just say like never heard someone say anything more out of touch in my life? And I said, can you explain what you mean by that? And you find out that most people can't.
Right.
They can't explain what they mean by that.
Mhm.
That it's I just saw it on the news. I saw it on social media, or I saw my favorite talk show say. I'm like, I mean, did you really ever think through that? Like, did you really think through that comment? Or are you just regurgitating information?
Well,
Right?
I think a lot of people believe forms of media to be truthful because people still have faith in the media, which I don't know how,
Does anybody
but they
believe the
do.
Time article that came out? Does anybody really believe that Time article?
Well, they had to change
If you
the
don't know
title of
it,
it
Time wrote an article, and it just gave me a headache.
after that interview came out, after the
After that
Casey and
interview
Callie
came
interview
in,
came
and,
out.
and after social media started blowing up with the chemicals in our food and pharma and the NIH and the FDA being completely funded by pharmaceutical companies and Nabisco and Coca-Cola, like just it's all corrupt. And they came out with the article in essence was, what if processed foods was actually better for you and not that bad for you?
Yeah.
Is there some idiot out there that reads that and thinks,
Yes, it literally just gave them all of the confidence that they need to continue on eating a bad diet.
but do you really think somebody reads
Yes.
that and go,
Yes.
I have a hard time thinking somebody read that. And I read the article and I tell you, it was a complete waste of my time. Right. But I read
Of
it
course it
because
was.
I read it and I wanted to be like, well, I read it angry. Like I read it like scrolling through it, just scrolling, reading. And I'm like, and then they changed it to like one doctor thinks or
One
something. One
dietitian.
one dietitian thinks it might be better for you. And I'm like, look at these idiots. They changed the title of it.
Because they know they got called out.
Do you think a lot
Yes.
of people read that and go,
Just
see, it
just
ain't
like
that
I
bad for you?
just like I said in part one, convenient timing here. Just like I said in part one, there will be research to support any claim that you make. There is going to be somebody that believes
What did
that
Mike say
ultra
when we said
processed.
that? When he said that, Mike's comment was funded by Pepsi Cola and
Yeah.
Nabisco. Thanks,
Yeah.
like funded, right? Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. It's um I have a friend I know that's vegan and very one of those real aggressive vegans.
The raw
Like the
vegans.
raw, like I mean, one of those just I mean, gaslighting vegans, right? You eat meat, obviously you don't care about the world. Obviously you don't care about other humans. Like, what if somebody cut you up and ate you? And what? Like, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Darwinism. I killed it before it killed me, right? Like, I'm sorry,
yeah.
it doesn't bother me. And when you start looking at where a lot of that research comes, and people that say that certain things are bad for you or something, and you start researching, uh, I think we did the Erica was on, the soccer trainer that our Erica Suter,
Hmm.
and she was like, yeah, somebody watched Game Changers, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're quoting Game Changers. And like, what's funny is I've told people, and I've had conversations with people, and I've said, well, honestly, they made that claim, but that's actually been proven to not be true.
Hmm.
And I'm really nice about it. I said I would look into it, and they get mad. They get mad at you.
Of course.
They get upset with you. And I'm like, well, shouldn't that be a good thing?
Yeah. Don't you want
That,
to like,
yeah,
if you're so after being healthy, like, don't you want to figure out how to be healthy?
yeah. Don't you want to know that, like, fruit with some vegetables and maybe a sweet potato with some chicken
Yeah.
isn't unhealthy just
I
because it
also
has
just
chicken? Like,
like the vegan argument to me of, how would you feel about if somebody cut you open? Like,
yeah.
do you not realize that most of the animal population, they also eat other animals?
I
Do you
saw
not realize
somebody,
that? Like,
uh,
it's
somebody,
normal.
I saw a breakdown of, somebody went over the amount of soil damage and animals that have to die for somebody to build and cultivate a avocado farm. And I'm just like, wow, that's incredible. Like, and every vegan's gonna love avocado. They eat avocado,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I think the only argument for somebody being vegan, everybody has debunked that it's a healthier, right? Like, you're
Hmm.
not a healthier person, right?
Right.
Like, that doesn't equal health, right? Um, the only argument I can get down with somebody is somebody say, like, I just have a hard time eating an animal.
Yeah. Be honest
I
about
can
it.
get down with that. Like, okay, I get it. Like,
Because there's plenty of people that are like, I
yeah,
don't tolerate cheese very well. I don't
yeah.
tolerate gluten very well. That's fine.
Or I
Totally
mean, I
fine.
feel bad when I hit a deer.
Yeah.
I hit a dog
I don't
once.
want to
It's
kill
horrible.
the animal.
I
I'm
want
gonna
to kill
eat
the
it. I don't
yeah,
want to
but
kill it.
yeah, right. But I think that's the only argument when somebody's like, listen, I'm just really sensitive to animals, and I grow animals, I love
Perfect.
animals.
That's
And then
why, yeah, I
fine.
was vegetarian for
Don't
that way too.
don't tell me
Mhm.
that you are healthier. Like, this person that's a vegan one time, will post things like, uh vegan marathoner runs a 2:30 marathon. Vegan ultra
It's identity.
person.
It's an entire
And
identity.
I'm like, yeah, but if that's true, then what about 99% of them that do eat meat?
Right.
Like, it that argument doesn't work for me,
Yeah.
because you
That's you
just
using your
talked about the
brain.
one person, and I'm talking about the other 99 that participated
Yeah.
that do.
Yeah.
And the person that beat your person, does that
Yeah.
mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
There's our tangent right there.
it
There's our
doesn't,
tangent
yeah, it
on
doesn't work for
veganism.
it doesn't work for
But this,
me.
like, it applies to everything of like, when we are relating this to like having a healthy weight loss culture, like having a singular identity around the food that you eat is probably not the way to be
It's not your
healthy.
religion.
Yeah.
It's not a religion. Listen, this is how screwed up it is. There are a large percentage of people that say you should never eat meat to
Hmm.
be the healthiest.
Hmm.
There's a large percentage of people that say you should only eat meat to be healthy. That's how screwed up our industry is, right?
Exactly.
That's how screwed up our industry is. Some say never do it, you'll be the healthiest. Some way only eat meat, you'll be the healthiest.
Right.
They both are part of the problem,
Hmm.
right? They both are part of the problem. Um, a doctor on Twitter posted the thing where, he had a client start eating a high protein breakfast and switched regular Cokes for Diet Cokes and lost 20 pounds in a month or something. Right.
I literally have told you about my client.
Yeah. What's
Okay.
your story? Yes. What's your story?
Okay, so it's been since we just had our check-in this week. The one about, the client that switched her protein, her breakfast, her normal Starbucks order to protein coffee. added a couple more days of movement in. She's down 33 pounds since March. It's just like simple fixes that you
Yeah.
can maintain. And we've done this so slowly, like so slowly. I had her really, she, long story short, was very involved with COVID. And what's the company that I'm trying to think of in Colombia that's over COVID? I don't know. I'm brain farting.
Yeah,
Whoever that
Pfizer.
company. No, it's not the vaccine company. It was like basically like a CDC organization in Colombia. Anyways, can't remember what the name of it is right now, but she was very responsible for the vaccine rollout, a lot of COVID regulation and stuff. And um,
Mm,
she's in her 50s and it took a really, 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 really stressful load on her body, like
sure.
very stressful load. She started sleeping really poorly. She was overworked, not eating, not exercising. And so it's taken us a few years to really get back into normalcy. And so for the longest time, we were really just working on sunlight, movement, eating better, making sure she's getting like all of her meals in. And then this year, particularly, we started working on more protein, more weight training, better sleep. And she's down 33 pounds since March. And I just think that is freaking incredible. And she came to me and she's like, something's wrong with my hormones, like yada, 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 which something probably was wrong, but we've been able to hack her body and
Mm.
just treat it better. And then the weight is falling off.
Well, this doctor got criticism because listen, this person lost 20 pounds, probably obese,
Mm-hmm.
switched from regular Cokes to Diet Cokes. So,
Mm-hmm.
so how much is calorie? How many calories in a regular Santa Coke
I
is?
think
I was gonna say
140.
140,
I
120,
think.
180, something like that.
I
Yeah.
think.
And they're drinking, and so it said just switch to diet soda and eat
Mm-hmm.
a high protein breakfast. And they lost 20
Mm-hmm.
pounds in a month.
Mm-hmm.
And the comments underneath it were, how, why not just drink water? Well, you can't go from 0 to 100, right?
Right.
I don't believe you would put that aspartame diet soda in some, you're not a real doctor. And I'm like, holy crap, like everybody's at different places, right?
But
Everybody's
that's
at a different spot. Like switching from Coke to Diet Coke and eating a high protein breakfast, that probably took 500 to 600 calories out of their day and they lost weight.
what
Like
amazes me is like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
I know, and
You
it's
know,
that
if
that
I teach someone to make baby steps, somebody else has something to say about it. Like changing simple thing. Protein coffee, for example. People love to hate on protein coffee. And I'm just like, if it's overcomplicated for you, but it's working for somebody else, why do you have an opinion?
because the
I don't,
people
I just,
turn fitness and nutrition dieting has turned into a religion, right?
mm,
It really has. People
mhm,
have worshipped it to the point that they listen. I talk about it all the time. Anybody who attaches their identity to an ideology, all they're doing is replacing their own thought.
mhm.
They don't have the ability to think, so they have to attach themselves to something
Yeah.
and say, okay, everything about that I now believe. Right, I now believe everything about it. Right, you see it in politics, you see it in philosophy, you see it in nutrition, you see it in so many aspects of our life. We lose the ability to think critically because we attach our identity to a group.
Hmm.
When in reality, if we really want to be smart, there's probably little pieces of all these little different groups that we probably really actually believe in, but you can't. You can't, right? You can't. If you're ideological, you have to believe in all the thousands of things that they believe in, because if you only believe in 999 of them, you're ostracized,
Hmm. That's so funny. I just had
right?
this conversation with my best friend yesterday. It's so funny, but it's so true. Like, I think the worst thing that you can ever do for yourself is like so viciously align yourself with one form of thinking and one form of living, right?
Because it's
Like,
a replacement for thought. You don't have to
yeah,
think. You don't have to
yeah,
think anymore.
exactly.
Somebody asks your opinion on something, you just go over here to the group rules and you go, oh no, I can't. Okay, no, I don't believe in that because the
Yeah.
group doesn't. Right? It's like we'll think of a really hot topic.
Intermittent fasting or the keto diet,
I don't know. I'm gonna get
any kind
even
of diet.
weirder. Yeah, I guess yeah. Um, any kind of zealot belief, if you're
Mhm.
talking about nutrition, um, they have to follow all of, for instance, I had somebody get in my inbox and be like, I said something about intermittent fasting, and they go, well, I've done a ton of research on intermittent
Yeah.
fasting, and here are the facts. And I always start it with, hey, I'm really glad you're out doing your own research
Mhm.
and finding out what's best for you.
Mhm.
I applaud you for doing that.
Mhm.
But um, you can, autophagy can happen in just a caloric deficit. Doesn't have to be through fasting.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, but it's easier. I said, yes, but it's still possible. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all these, I said, here are my concern. And if anything was outside of that little box that they believe in, it can't be true. There
Yeah.
can be a lot of things true, right? Like,
Mhm.
you know, if you're, and I guess the hardest polarization comes in politics, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, our political landscape is completely polarized. You're either one or the other,
Mhm.
right? Um, and like you can't be a critical thinker in the middle and be like, maybe not sure, right? They got to polarize everything. Um, but when you're taking in our environment and because of our culture and the amount of information we get and access to and the things you can Google and things you can follow, um, and I do believe your algorithm only feeds your low level ability to think because it only sends you things that you affirm you, right?
Mhm.
Um, if you can break free from that when it comes to your health and your wellness and nutrition, well, you're probably going to be a lot happier.
Mhm.
You're going to find little things that work for you. You're going to quit comparing yourself to other people,
Mhm.
right? Um, you're going to find that you have to be patient. You have to do it
Mhm.
long term. And you're going to find little things that help you and work for you, regardless of what other people say.
Yeah. And I think too, just, to echo points from earlier, I think it's important to remember, like we've been talking about, you're going to find research that supports everything, So when research comes out about a diet or a trend or whatever, just make sure that you read both sides of the research. I think that's massively important too, because you will always find a claim that will support intermittent fasting, and you'll also find claims that won't support intermittent fasting. So I think it's just important to look at both sides and then decide if it's best for you. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying it. There's definitely some people that do feel better eating a certain way. There's nothing wrong with trying it, but don't force it as a lifestyle, especially onto other people, because
You're finding it too.
what works for you is probably not going to work for your best
You,
friend.
you know what you're having too. This big polarity is you're having right now is middle-aged older women and the high intensity boot camps
Mm,
where they're saying there's so much more benefit to actual strength training with long rest, 6 to 8 reps, 8 to 15 reps of strength
yeah.
training multiple times per week with low rest period, with high rest, working on strength and building muscle.
Mhm.
Um, and man, the people who love that boot camp high intense style training um really came out with their feelings hurt
Yeah, of course, because
with a lot of that.
it's something they fully align with. And like I do teach at a place that is higher intensity workout based, and I love it. I think it's a great place to work out. I do think we're very different from most places because we do heavily focus on weight training and recovery
Mhm,
with yoga at
mhm.
the end. But I understand why people get their feelings hurt when you start attacking a lifestyle that they've built for themselves,
Yeah,
and not even necessarily attacking the lifestyle, but coming out with research that doesn't necessarily support the same
yeah.
lifestyle.
I definitely don't believe in attacking somebody's personal decisions and their
Yeah,
lifestyle,
me neither.
right?
Because
Like
again,
I
like
don't.
you could,
Yeah,
whatever you love and whatever is best on your journey, that's what you got to do.
yeah. Yeah. I'm not. I mean, man, I've said it for years. I'm not in the convincing business.
Yeah. Well, and I think
I'm
more
not.
so us talking about this is just telling people to, like, you know, you can't force your lifestyle or your decisions that you make onto anybody else. Like that's not going to create a healthy culture that we want to be in. Everybody's going to have to take a different route.
Yeah.
So,
Um, that's why every client is different,
mhm,
right? That's why success is different for every client. Listen, I have clients right now that eating a high protein breakfast, not snacking 2 hours before they go to bed, and walking is kind of where they're at,
mhm,
right? And
yeah,
that's totally fine, right?
right.
Um, I will stick to the fact that I can empathize with people who say they're fighting an uphill battle because of the environment that's been created in our country
Mhm,
around food, comfort, pharmacy,
mhm.
pharmaceutical drugs. Um, you know, Mike said it the best, man. Like, um, I had a high blood pressure test when I was giving blood, and there are a lot of factors to it, but I completely cut down caffeine intake to no more than 180 grams of caffeine a day.
Yeah.
Um, I started taking a couple supplements that he gave me. I increased my calories like 400 or 500 calories a day. Um, and I cut back the intensity of jujitsu training
Mhm,
because Mike's like, well, what do you do for your cardio? And I said, well, jujitsu training. And he's like, well, are you concerned about that effect on your nervous system? Because it is fight or flight, right? Like fighting
mhm,
another human being is fight or flight. He goes, that can affect you. And I'm like, I never thought
mhm.
of that. I just thought it was like my way of getting
Your
cardio in.
parasympathetic nervous
Yeah, and
system.
listen, we've talked about it before. When it comes to sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system, like I'm redline in life. Like,
Yeah, same.
yeah, like my HRV sucks. Um, I'm not a relaxer.
Me neither.
I'm not like if anybody ever described me as easygoing, I'd laugh at them. Like that's just not me.
I think you are easygoing, but I think you're intense, and that's how I feel about myself
Yeah,
too. Is like I'm very go with the flow, but at the same
yeah,
time, like I gotta move. I'm like a
yeah.
shark. If I stop moving, I die.
Yeah,
I had a couple.
my blood pressure's down 12 points.
That's great.
Ever since
That's
then,
really great.
I made some other changes and I'm like, and I actually commented on it when somebody made a comment about having high blood pressure. And I said, hey, this was what Mike had me do, change 3 or 4 things.
Hmm.
And they were like, my doctor wanted to put me on medication because of the high blood pressure. I do believe that like in that Kelly Means video, I do believe that I don't crap on doctors because I think there are a lot of them that really 100% care.
Mm, yeah,
The system's just not set up for them to be successful.
yeah.
And like I said in that video, I do believe that doctors are basically told that the patient is going to be lazy and non-compliant. So trying to educate them around health and nutrition is a waste of time. It won't work because they won't do it. So give them a pill. Um, and I think there are a lot of people that if you said, hey, um, a lot of people would rather take the pill
Mhm. No, a lot of people would.
than
Well,
make changes.
and I think too, it could be laziness. It could also just be so much trust in our medical system to that a pill is going to work for you,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And having trust.
the argument of well, they're a doctor.
Yeah,
That argument
exactly.
that does argue
But
that doesn't work for
the
me.
conversation I had with my best friend the other day, she's a teacher. I'm starting to like slowly notice that a lot of us have like professions that work with people very closely. I'm starting to notice that this is kind of a common trend of like teachers are maybe not necessarily learning, but kind of making the assumption that kids are lazy. They don't want to learn. Doctors are taught or making the assumption that patients are lazy. They don't want to change. We
Mhm.
see it in our industry all the time that coaches are like, you're just lazy. You don't want it enough, you know, which is sometimes true and sometimes false for each person, for each profession. But like I said earlier, I severely underestimated the complication behind all of it and
Yeah,
how much more there is to it, like mentally, physically, emotionally. It's not just let me work out and eat well. There's so much more to it for a lot of people. And I'm not saying that in a sense of like there's something wrong with you, because there's not something wrong with you. You've been born into a system that doesn't allow you to flourish a lot of the time.
So it's systemic.
I think a lot of it can be.
You think poor health and poor wellness is more systemic than we think?
Yep. Like as of the last year, 100%.
I'd
I,
say,
I,
I think that from 2000 to 2020, it slowly started to get worse. And then 20 to
yep,
24, it multiplied by 1,000.
100%.
Right. I think the whole culture from COVID has been completely just has been quadrupled.
Hmm.
Um, but I do feel that there is a little bit of an awakening happening of people that are
There
like,
is.
I'm not sure I trust that person anymore.
More and more
Listen,
people are speaking out about it.
there was a day that you trusted your local teacher,
Hmm.
your local professor, I'll say,
Hmm.
you trusted the local doctor,
Hmm.
you trusted the local preacher, and you trusted the local guy that owned the grocery store. And if there are three people that I think have lost a whole lot of credibility, it's your local preacher, your local teacher, your local doctor, and your local food professional.
I
Right?
absolutely agree.
Those four people are no longer the pillars of the community.
Hmm.
They're
I
really
absolutely
they're
agree.
really not, because more and more is coming out about the corrupt side of that, some of that,
Hmm.
and you're just like, mm. And to me, when you lose the pillars of a community and you start thinking like, does my mayor really care about me? Like, does my governor really care about me? Like, is it fair? Is it weird that the politician was worth $500,000 and then left they're worth 40 million? Like, is that weird? Like, people are starting to be like, they're starting to wake
Something is
up.
not, the math is
Yeah,
not mathing
the math
here.
is not mathing,
Yeah.
right? And I do think people are really starting to wake up. Like, you know, I tell people quit taking general health advice from your family practice doctor.
Yeah.
They don't know.
100%. They don't know.
They don't know, right?
And I
They don't
think
know.
if you listen to the audiobook by Casey and Callie, I think I told you guys it's on Spotify. So like literally hooking up right now, if you have Spotify premium, you get the audiobook of Good Energy for free.
Mhm.
Um, she talks about how the medical profession has so many different specialties now because they want to
Yeah, I heard her
space
say that.
everything out.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really important to remember as we keep adding subjects and subjects and subjects and subjects. We get more disconnected from like the center of the root issue. Like it's very distracting from the center of the root issue. And I think that applies for everything, not just medical, but like educational as well. You know, there's so many things that are now distracting us from like the very core issue of what's going on.
Mhm.
And I just think it's really important to think critically about that because everything is connected.
I tell you, I've seen this happen at hospital-owned physical therapy clinics where a kid could tear their ACL and they'll put them on a 16-week protocol. Another kid will tear their ACL, put them on a 12-week protocol, all depending on how much their insurance coverage
Mhm.
is done.
Yeah.
Right. You're 13 times more likely to get an MRI on your low back if you go to a doctor for general low back pain,
Mhm.
because they want to hit you for that appointment. They want to hit you for the MRI. They want to hit you for the
Everything.
X-ray. They want to hit you all of that so they could just bust through your insurance for reimbursements, right? And they will run you through the system and they'll get $10,000 deep on a grade 1 sprained ankle,
Mhm.
right? They will put you through. I mean, all the tests and the blood tests and all the things you'll have to get if you go to a doctor for a runny nose. I mean, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I mean,
Yeah.
you go to your doctor because you're feeling depressed, you'll become a patient and a
Mhm.
customer forever.
Yeah. Exactly.
You will become a
Exactly.
patient. And I'm not going to say who, but me and you were sent the incentive program for COVID vaccines that was at a local family practice.
That was put out in, I think, 2021.
Was it 2021? The
I think so.
COVID
Yeah.
incentive at a family practice that they incentivized the doctors
You're gonna
for
get us censored on here.
fine. I don't care. It's the truth though. Like, isn't it amazing? Like, I mean,
No, it is.
the only
And I
person that
like,
the only person that's afraid of the truth is the person telling the lie.
yeah, I agree. And I'm really thankful that we're able to like speak about this too, because I think at the end of the day, it has so much to do with your health and wellness,
Yeah.
just to be aware of the things that are happening,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I think it's eye-opening,
Yeah.
you know?
It is. Well, we've capped our time out.
Yeah.
What are you doing the rest of the day?
I'm going to the beach.
Ooh, it sounds miserable.
Wait, I mean, it's warm. I think it's supposed to be a little bit cooler next week, which is
Was it
great,
hot?
but
Was that hot up there this week? It was
my,
brutal this week.
my back is
Like
sweating right
it was
now.
brutal. It was like
Yeah.
swampy hot down here.
Oh
And I guess
yeah,
Columbia's hotter than Greenville, right? Like they always
it
say,
is because we have the mountains.
"Oh
So
man, it's swamp." It's like, why do I even shower?
yeah. No, it's true. And I've never really noticed before, but I always like become a lesser active person in the summertime because I'm like, I can't go outside for a walk like this. Like when fall comes, I'm like walking outside for like 60 minutes, 75 minutes, and now I'm getting like 15 minutes in. I'm like, why don't
Yeah,
I not feel good?
yeah, because it's gross.
Yeah,
It's
because I'm
legit.
sweating.
It's a legit gross.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will talk soon. That is number 18. We can tell them that we did everything in reverse order. We actually videotaped 19 before we did 18. Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you. So wait, let me find out where we're at here.
Bye now.
With all due respect.